Okay, got it.
Yeah. You go ahead.
Oh, so I was gonna say, how was your job?
The job has been great. I can't believe it's been almost 3 months already. Because I started January 31st.
Oh, the end of the month. Ooh.
Yeah. It was almost 3 months.
Yeah.
Mm.
So is it what you pictured, or are you just saying like I'm gonna do it until you gain some skills or something?
It's not exactly like what I pictured. Like I never thought that I'd be working at a marketing agency.
Oh, okay.
But now after joining, it's like it worked out even better than I can imagine because I love the staff and I like the people I work with. I like the fact that we have the ability to be flexible with our work schedules, which is nice because having some kind of work-life balance is something that's very important to me. So I was very happy when they presented that to me. I was just like, yes, I made the right decision. And I interviewed with other positions, but I think like this one in particular was the best fit for me. Even though it is my first time working in like an agency environment, I am looking back now, I'm glad that I made the decision to work here because I had got a job offer from somewhere else too, but I decided to work with GNS and I'm glad I made that decision.
Well, that's good because you know what, it's always the what if. What if I joined that company, the other company, would I be able to do what I do right now, right? And so, of course, when I was applying a job, I was just like, I know I don't want to go to work in no suit and tie, or I show up like in a camera, like a certain way. Like I had all this stuff, and you know what, crazy? Work-life balance was not on the list, right? Because I know that I love working, right? I'll put in 40, 50, 60 hours, and I like that. That's what I like. And I knew that I was still be able to take care of my family and my kids and still do what I want, right? And so I felt like work-life balance was not important to me. What important to me was coming to work, what I want to put on, like I didn't want somebody to be micromanage me. So there was like other stuff on this list, right? And I was just like, man, I don't, even if my role was hybrid, I still wouldn't mind. Like it would not bother me going into office. Because right now I try out different workspaces. I try that out and I like it. I meet all types of people and I go sit at the library, go sit one of my friends' garages outside working. So I mean, it's like, oh, good part is go to the beach. I go to the beach and sit and work.
Yeah, that's good that you have like those options. And that's one thing I kind of like about the hybrid models that of course you have the in-office work, but then like outside of the office, like you can work from home or you can, work at a coffee shop. Like I like to go to coffee shops and do work whenever I can because that's kind of like one of my favorite scenes. I don't know what it is about a coffee shop. They tend to be busy, but in a way it can be pretty relaxing for some reason. Or maybe I just love coffee. That's just like an excuse for me to go get some.
I love coffee, but then when you see other people there working too, you're like, oh, I'm at the right spot. Yes,
Yeah, it's a good workplace, I've noticed. I don't know what it is about coffee shops and doing work, but it fits.
It does. I said I should go to like Barnes and Noble. Oh, one is like Panera Bread. I go to Panera Bread.
Me too. I love Panera.
Yeah, I go there. But then, like I said, our season's opening up, and so the beach is gonna be back hot. And so I was like, oh, I could probably go to one of the boardwalks. They usually have Wi-Fi and go sit over there and work and and it's it feels good like stepping out of my house. But that's why I said like there were so many things and it's crazy when people ask me like, oh, what did you look into when you was finding your job? I'm like, not what you was looking to. They were remote and all that. I'm like, listen, that was not on my list. Like I was worrying about other stuff, right? And it's true, like what makes a job fun is your manager, you know, you waking up like, oh my goodness, I got a meeting, but I'm still in pajamas. Listen, I was in a meeting and somebody had a robe on. And I was just like, this is so funny. You know, like
that sounds like my kind of me.
You know, sometimes I'll have like a hat on, blanket wrapped around me, and you know, I feel like there was other things on my list, but I'm glad you like it. And you know what? It's for your position going into a market agency, it's different, right? And for some people get into social media or content and they go work for a tech company or go work for a small business, and they don't have that experience on the resume, right? But you do now, right? So somebody, if you say, well, I want to go to another company, but you needed agency experience, you can say, oh, I got it. So
yeah, because all my experience has been like in-house up to this point. Like I started off doing social media for a nonprofit, which ironically enough, that was like my original career goal because I was an international studies major in college. So this was like during the time where I didn't really understand the ins and outs of nonprofit, right? I just thought it would be a way for me to like help people and, you know, kind of give back to my community. But after working for a nonprofit, I realized that that's probably not the best industry for me to go into. But at the same time, I discovered my passion for social media marketing. And it's like, oh, I'm actually pretty good at this. So I've been pursuing that career ever since. And all my experience has been in-house. Like I did for a nonprofit and I did it for a tech company. And now I'm doing agency work for the first time. And looking back in like my college days, I did not even imagine that I would be working for a marketing agency. But life has a way of like shifting you to different directions that you probably wasn't even thinking about going. But like I said earlier, it worked out even better than I can imagine because I landed at a good company that kind of supports and values the ways of working that I do, whether it be hybrid or, you know, having some like flexibility. And of course that promise for like upward mobility. So if I want to like work in like a higher level position, you know, there's a chance for me to do that.
Well, that's good. I have my master's in nonprofit management and leadership.
Oh, really?
I love everything nonprofit, and I still do. I volunteer at a nonprofit called Sunday Lunchbox as a project manager, and I love it. And why I didn't find a job into it, I feel like my current job fell into my lap, you know. So when I tell people like I have all this years of experience doing nonprofit work, and they're like, how did you get into tech? And I'm just like, I felt like I'm not in a technical role. I'm more of a non-technical role. So it just fell in place, right? I'm trying to learn the technical part of this. Being a technical project manager, I'm slowly getting there. But what I also liked about my job is that, you know, I get the mentorship if I want, I get the coaching and advice. I can ask my manager 31 questions and he'll still be, you know, he'll still reach out and answer questions for me. You know, if I don't know what I'm doing, I don't care. I'm gonna jump 2 feet in and figure it out and put something together. And and my manager be like, listen, I know you, Ty, but I'm glad you didn't say no. You figured it out, and then you still tackled the task. And so, you know, that's good that, you know, you said, okay, cool, let me try it out. Let me see. Now I'm enjoying my company. I enjoy the people I work with. This promotion is growth, you know. And then you could ask yourself, like, are you learning as much as you need? Like, are you taking in? Because every day to me, I feel like I'm always learning something new.
And that's another thing, right? As long as you're learning something new, I mean, it's good. Of course, we need like jobs to, like for the paychecks and like to pay your bills and take care of our families and whatnot. But I think if you're learning something new constantly at your job, it doesn't like turn into like a routine, like, oh, okay, I gotta go to work, I gotta do this, this, and this. So if you're learning something, even if it does like get difficult, I know like working in a marketing agency, like off the bat, there were some difficulties and some learning curves that I ran into. But at the same time, it's just like I'm learning something new. Like I can always expect something different, and I'm not falling into like some kind of routine because I hate falling into routines. Because that's what, in my opinion, that's where life kind of gets boring to me. If I'm like constantly like in a routine, especially in a work setting where you're like you feel like you're doing the same stuff every single day. So that's what another thing I like about my job too is that there's like that window to learning new things, even if it can be stressful sometimes. At least I know that okay, there's something new coming down the pipeline. I'm not expecting the same thing every single day.
So yeah, so in the military, we're like, so there's some structure. Yeah, we call them battle rhythm. That's something that we do all the time. And so when I first started my job, they didn't have that. They didn't like say, oh yeah, we clock in, we check emails and this. And so like they didn't have the structure for this role. So me and my manager like came up with that, right? It was like, what happens monthly? And he was like, these meetings, boom, 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 boom. Cool. What happens weekly? These other meetings, boom, boom, boom. All right, cool. So what do you do in between? That's what I needed to figure out. And so I started doing tasks to lead that led up to some of these meetings, right? I then started taking on more. So then I started adding to those monthly and weekly meetings, you know, and that's the stressful part, right? So there's weeks where there's like 4 meetings in 1 week. I'm like, oh gosh, like what slide I need to work on today, you know? And so, but what I like is that when those meetings are over with, I'm like, oh, I can breathe a little, I can relax. And so I'm like, all right, cool. The meetings are coming up again, you know, and somebody got to run the meeting, somebody. So it's all new, and I like it. You know, I like starting. You know, I've been. Oh, what day is it? April, and I think it's April 28th. I'll be on my job for a year, and I'm like, gosh,
time flies.
Fast. You know, and it took me about 1-2 months to find a job. And then I was interviewing a lot. But then, you know, you get that feeling, you like, I don't feel like this is right for me anyway. Like, I've gone through interviews, and I'm like, that
was the same thing for me. Because after my tech job, I think I went 2-ish months, like looking for my new job to like my current position. And it's not, I think what I'm proud of though is that I wasn't like just blasting out applications. Like I was like really digging deep and like looking into like the positions and like figuring out, okay, is this gonna work? Is this gonna be a good fit? And that's actually pretty hard because I know when you're applying for a job, it can be like kind of frustrating because it's like, when is that next position gonna come? But at the same time, you want to find like that good fit that works. And I was getting a lot of interviews, and I think the more interviews I did, the more confident I got in like my speaking skills and like really articulating my experience. So by the time I got that interview with GNS, it was just like, okay, I feel more settled. And I also know, like in my gut feeling, everything went so well. It's like I got a good feeling about this. And like literally the next day after that interview, they offered me the job. And I was like, and that's another thing, is like that gut feeling. You just like, I think this is gonna work out.
That's good. And I love YouTube University. So when you're right? So I didn't apply for everything, right? So I knew what I wanted. So I wanted two things. I wanted to be a nonprofit or an awesome company, regardless the industry.
Mm-hmm.
I applied to nonprofit jobs and got interviews. Then I applied to jobs that was outside of nonprofit that I knew I was a good fit for the role. I met the qualifications. I knew I had the skills. But then I said to myself, like, listen, I was like, I don't know. I feel like I gotta dress up every day. Like, doing the research in the companies and stuff like that. And then, you find anything on social media. So I was just like, like I applied at Amazon. I was just like, and it was crazy. Like I said, there was things on my list that was just, I applied to anything outside of nonprofit. I applied to jobs that I knew I could get a discount, right?
Yeah.
So I said, let me apply to Target. And I wanted a Target that was local, that had like, I could go to a Target and, work in a back office somewhere. And I was like, because I could get a discount. Right?
That's a unique approach to like applying to jobs.
Yeah. And then I said, Walmart. Oh my gosh. I went to Walmart and I was like looking around. I saw people dressed up. I was like, I wonder what they doing. So then I was like, but they get like 40% off discount. Let me apply. And then, I applied to Universal Studios. I was like, discount. Right. And then finally, so let me say, so my approach to finding jobs were like way different from other people, because everybody want to work at a fan company. Everybody want to work for a big company. Everybody, like that was not me. Like I felt like that's not what I wanted. I wanted a discount. So since I've been on my job, I used every discount they ever offered on hotels and flights and going to Sam's Club, printers and new computers. So I feel like my approach of finding jobs were definitely, wouldn't say the norm.
I mean, even if it's still pretty cool though. And to be honest, I never would have like thought about it that way. But now that you're talking about it, it's like, like that makes sense. And it kind of makes me want to like look into like my own company's policies around like discounts and
such.
such.
You want to use listen, they just sent this bright horizon for childcare, and I was just like, let me see, $15 a day. Let me sign my kids up to day camp. Let me take advantage. And that's what I want. It's like, how some people, it's crazy. Like I met a coworker and she was like, it took me 3 years to start networking within the company. I'm like, I feel like my day one at the company, I was like, who are you? Hey, my name is Ty. Just started today. What you do here?
Yeah.
And that's what
I was doing my first day, introducing myself to everybody. Even though it was still virtual, like I was setting up meetings.
Me too.
The whole 9 yards, just let people know that I'm here.
My coworkers be like, we see you on LinkedIn. I'm like, you need to fix your LinkedIn profile.
Yes. LinkedIn is where it's at. LinkedIn is where it's at.
And I helped did a internal networking and event. And when we did these breakout rooms, a lot of people was like, like, how are you doing it? I'm just like, sending random people message. Like, hey, I saw your last post. That was so cool. Love to connect. Because I say, like, you never know, right? You might need to lean on that person for a favor, or they might need a favor. And so, that's how you grow professionally, period, right? So if it's time for you to move on from your company, you're going to say, let me reach out to so-and-so, right? So like this girl I know right now, right? She started her own recruiting company. she's like, listen, when I start my SaaS company, I'm hiring you. I'm like, done. Like, but I met her via LinkedIn and we talk every day, That's just like Rael. When I met her on LinkedIn, she was looking for a job and I was just like, I got you. Help her got her current job. And, in this journey of hers, I'm like, oh, I got you. I sent her candidates and, but you want to meet people like that to help you grow. Cause I'm a big believer. You never know what's the outcome, right? You might meet somebody, they might say, hey, we see you over there, but we could double your paycheck. We could give you mentorship, guidance, growth, run your own department. You're going to say, well, thank you. I've been working at this company for a good amount of months, but it's time for me to move on.
Yeah.
So that's what you want. You don't want to say, oh, let me stop networking or stop. It's just like,
and just keep doing it constantly. Keep it.
Let me tell you, correct. And let me tell you a good thing. Say somebody leave from your company and go start their own agency or go to a bigger company, they're gonna come right back and say, oh, you was a good worker. You wanna come, I'm hiring. Like you might say, let's do it, let's go. And a lot of people do that. They'll take co-workers with them and go to a whole nother company.
Mm-hmm.
So it's true. And so that's why I'm always meeting somebody. I'm like, hey, I see you watching me. Like, that's why, right? When people view my profile and we're not connected, I connect with them and be like, oh, I saw you view my profile. Hey, hello, hi. Thank you for viewing my profile. Please let me know if it needs more work.
That's why I always check who views my profile. I think
do you message them? Do you connect with them? Do you send something?
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I do. As soon as I see you view my profile, I connect, send a note saying, thank you for viewing my profile. Please let me know how I can help you. And they be like, that's smart. It is. It's very smart.
Mm-hmm.
And I met some awesome people that way too. They was like, damn. I'm like, yup. I tell you, that's why I reply to every message, even if it just says hello. So
everything.
I sure do. And it's like, I won't say like a game or whatever, but it's like, that's how you could grow and meet people and, do more podcasts, right? You might say, hey, I've been watching you. You want to come on my podcast? We just going just random talking, and people be like, oh, I never got invited to a podcast, like, oh yeah, so even if you, like invite one of your coworkers, that's what I do. We have an internal podcast that we run, and me and this girl.
Yeah, my company does too. Well, they haven't like released a podcast yet, but they're working on it. Hopefully it'll be up next month. So that's just like an opportunity there. Maybe I can listen to that podcast and then see maybe they can potentially come on mine, or me like eventually trying to do some work with that podcast.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I'm a part of the internal marketing team. So we have clients that we do work for. Then we have internal like companies.
Okay.
So I'm a part of the internal marketing team where I do all the social media for the company as well. And one big thing that they're working on promoting is the podcast. That's going to be next month. Next month's going to be a huge month, social media wise, for us. So I'm very excited to be taking part in all of that.
So do y'all have like committees, like culture committees?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. So we have a youth professional committee, and we just started our podcast. So me and Mr. Emily, we're the hosts, and we just be inviting people onto our podcast. And talk about how they got where they at, right? Like we meet people all the time at the company, and I'm like, so you are a video producer at a tech company. Tell me about it. Like, how did you get here? And dude was like, I never thought about that. I'm like, at a SaaS company, you're a video producer.
That's great. That's
so
good.
Tell me what you do with your 9 to 5. Because I don't think you like, you know, and there's another person, I don't even know what she does. I'm like, tell me how your week looks. You know, I'm over here killing myself. What are you doing? You know, so we be just talking about, you know, how did you get here? Like, what are your plans? You plan to stay at the company? You know, and then we like got a lot of senior people that we're going to interview and ask questions because, you know, so that's what we do. So we do this internal podcast. Oh, and then one of our VP of sales, he has his own podcast. And I don't even know what his podcast be, but he's consistent. I'll tell you.
Podcasts are where it's at, and it's so easy to make a podcast now. Like everyone can make a podcast.
I told my mother that. So my mom's like, so I told my mom I'm doing this with you. She was like, can I start my own podcast? I'll be like, yeah, it'd have been calling Turning 60. I'd have had some oldie music going in. I'm like, and then you need to be like, this is Sandra. Welcome to today's podcast. We're going to talk about Turning 60. And then I was like, and you just start talking.
Yeah, you just talk about anything too.
And she was like, what do you talk about? I said, listen, I listened to this one podcast. She be going off the rails, but it is hilarious. She do her little
What does she talk about? Talk about like anything that just comes to her mind?
Yo, she be talking about dudes she be messing with. Shit. Crazy. But you know, certain podcast platforms you get paid, right? So they listen to the first like 10 seconds of the podcast, you get paid. So her podcast, like some good music for her intro. And then she does, if somebody sponsored her, right? Because on this app, I forgot what it's called. Like people could sponsor you within the app. So you'll be like, oh, you got a new sponsor. So within the first, after your intro, you'll be like, oh, so today it brings me, you know, sponsored by blah, 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 blah. Right. And then she will start her podcast and then end the podcast with the sponsorship again. And I think the first like 10 seconds or 15 seconds, you got to listen and then she gets paid.
That's so cool. I want to know the name of that app.
I'm about to.
And probably something I can benefit from.
Oh man, where is? I'll find it because I was listening to her podcast. It was called the 𝘗𝘰𝘥𝘪𝘢. So I was like,
that sounds like my kind of podcast right there.
Huh?
That sounds like my kind of podcast.
Listen, there's another girl I met on LinkedIn. She had a podcast, and I was like, you should promote the podcast. She said, nah. I said, okay, I understand. When I listened to it, oh my God. She and these dudes were on it just going crazy, talking about the wildest stuff. And I'm like, listen, you getting paid, right? Right? She's like, yeah. I'm like, I'll be on there talking too crazy. But my friend, her thing, 𝘗𝘰𝘥𝘪𝘢, and I was just like, girl, you are hilarious. And we were stationed together, but it was funny, man. She like, and I just hit her up the other day, like, you still doing your podcast? She like, nah, but I need to start up again. Cause she was consistent. Like she was always, every week she had a new podcast. But yeah, I'd have had me a podcast that was professional and then a podcast that was just off the chain. So I told my mom, like, listen, if you want to start a podcast, I'll help you. And she was like, I was like, because there's this app, right? So I said, man, I need to get the app. So the app, what happens is you record your podcast off the app. So you can invite people to the podcast and then you just start talking and stuff like that. And you could edit it in the app. So your intro and then, you know, your content, and then you can publish it. Yeah.
That sounds like so much fun though.
Yeah. And so we do the podcast via Zoom, but we got this dude, he'll strip the audio. He stripped the audio and then does it that way.
Mm.
But yeah, I was like, man, yeah. So I told my mom, like, listen, we're gonna start that podcast. You could be like day drinking at 60.
Oh my God.
And I said, you gotta be funny and like, you know, and then she was like, what do you mean? I'm just like, listen, you want to, there's older people that probably doesn't want to listen to like the dry business podcast maybe, but there's probably some older folks that be wanting to listen to somebody that's just going up the chain, you know, chain, talking about craziness. You might be it, yeah. My mom crazy, yo.
Oh my God.
So I already know my mom crazy. So I was like, yo, you could make a killing.
You two should definitely do a podcast then.
Oh, you know what? I should. I'm gonna tell her. I'm like, listen, let's do a podcast. Let's make some money. Like, what we all talk about? I'm like, listen, we just gonna talk about crazy stuff. I got a twin sister. My twin sister would be on that joint with us. Let's be talking about. Look, call it 60 in my 60s. I don't know. Twins a mom or something. I don't know.
In my 60s sounds cool. I don't know.
Yeah. Oh, in my 60s. Yeah. In my 60s with my daughters. Right. I think I like that. I wish I had a pen on my desk. Oh, damn. I got a desk with no pen.
I'm sure you'll remember it.
Yeah. Because I'm going to start it. I'm like, Ma, let's do it. Let's get our first episode going. Some music. We're like some oldies, right? Oh man, listen, I'm already got it.
That sounds like fun. That sounds like fun.
But you know what? You should do like, and then I should invite my kids and interview my kids. My kids are disrespectful. Let me just put it that way. They're not disrespectful. No. Let me change. My kids know that right or wrong, right? But my kids, good example, somebody told my daughter to go drink out of the water fountain. She said, hell no, that's nasty. Like, you drink out of the water fountain? Like, so then I looked at her like, oh, my kid's smart. Yeah, we don't drink out of water fountain.
I don't either.
You know? And then my kids go around. I don't know, we'd be somewhere and my kids be like, here comes Karen. I was like,
oh my God.
Oh my God, who taught them this? Right, but you know, they definitely pushed me to be such a like awesome, hardworking person. You know, I tell people all the time, females in general have this list of why they work so hard, right? And for me, it's like family, kids, my husband, and you know, nice things come later, but I feel like, you know, I wake up, and that's why I said like me working so much, that work-life balance was not on that list of things to must have, because I knew putting in 60 hours, our kid, buy my kids this and do this later on and stuff like that. So, you know, my kids be like, oh, you work so much. I'm like, but you like the new shoes you got on your feet, you know? And then on top of that, I do so much for my kids that it's like, I don't want to say fill in for me, but they definitely understand that, okay, mom has to work. And so my kids cheer. We go a lot of places.
Yeah.
So I be telling my kids like, listen, even that full $100 a night hotel you spent that had that water park. Like, I'm like, I'm confused here. Like, you know, please, do you want me to stop working? You know, like, so, and that's why what was also on that list was benefits, right? And I mean, like, discounts. And what does that look like? Because if you ask your job what they have, they might say, yeah, we got get Sam's Club discount. A lot of times they got like hotel discounts. You're gonna be like, oh, it is. I love working here. You know, because then you see it. Then you're taking advantage of what your job has to offer. So that's what I wanted. So I don't think my job's healthcare, right? Because I'm still in the military. So I said, all right, cool. What else can you offer me? Yeah. So I take advantage of everything. And that's why they switched healthcare companies. And I was like, I wonder if they pay for cosmetic surgery. That was
deals. Get those
deals. On my list. You know, so stuff like that. So when it is hard when people ask me like, why did you pick Boomy? And I'm like, and the culture, right? Like, come to work, people catch you all in the camera. We have fun. We have day parties. You know, we take the whole day off to do an event. You know, like, there's no stress there. Be like, and then on the flip side, benefits, man. If you have types of discount, you know.
I'm all about the deal.
Listen, I've always, every time I fax my manager, I'm like, yo, we get discount on coffee at places. They like, that's what you worrying about?
Oh my God.
You know, so, and of course, there's other people like, oh, I'm looking for growth and this. But I feel like if you come to work, right, and you love what you do, have fun what you do, and enjoy what you do, it will show. Right? It'll show your work ethic. It'll show that you like what you do. You like the people with your work, your culture, like it flows. So for me to say, I got time to play around and, you know, your joke ain't funny, like that doesn't show anything, right? That doesn't show, you know, some people don't like working with people like that. So there's people on the job. I put in a nice little corner and I'm like, you didn't laugh at my joke. So I'm gonna put you over there. You know, and that's how you handle it. And you just drive on, you know. So Boomy has definitely has opened my eyes on what I really want. And then, you know, so when companies be like, oh, we're hiring, you're perfect fit, blah, blah, I'm like, listen, can you offer me this? Boo, 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 boo. They be like, oh, no, how about this? Because it ain't about the money for me, right? It's about other stuff. That's why I said, people like, would you go work at McDonald's? Hell yeah. $20 an hour, right? Free food, you know, they pay for college. You know, there's other stuff, you know, corporate in Chicago, right? But they did virtual. Yeah, because they're talking to McDonald's and get free food. Or they're going to pay for more schooling. Benefits, I know their benefits are good. So, I'm telling you, the life.
Yeah. I just love like your experiences and like how unique they are. And it just seems like you have like a great time like finding like these unique opportunities, especially like when it comes to deals, because I'm all about a good deal too.
And you know, there was a question. Let me find this question. Hold on, because I'm gonna tell you. So they're doing a lot of interviewing at my job. And there was a question brought up. Okay, so there was a question brought up of like, oh, here we go. The question was, what was a couple of plans? Okay. Oh, what steps have you taken to ensure that diversity and inclusion is core to your hiring practices? Right, so you was hiring a hiring manager.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, well, I asked that question in the interview.
Yeah.
To my manager. So I felt like, I was like, as me hiring somebody, yeah, I want to know, but at the same time, when I asked my manager that question in the interview, I was like, you hire Black people? Like off the back, like one, right? So that's what I also was looking like. I didn't want to be your golden ticket or the scapegoat that, so I asked that question. I interviewed with a company and a company said, we don't even do that. We failing at that. And I was just like,
Okay.
You know, so I don't want to be a golden, you know, so so when I say like money and work-life balance was not on that list, it's true because there was other important things. And another thing was like going into a culture and saying, cool, I'm probably the only Black person, right? Or a few handful. And what does that look like? Are we treated differently? Or are we not listened to? Like, what are you doing to ensure? Like, are you interviewing us? Period. Like, how many are you interviewing us? So when I said, I replied to, we got this committee, I replied and I said, well, I feel like there's no wrong or right answer. But of course, there are wrong answers. Like, you know, like, I'm not doing nothing, you know, ensure, like, or I don't have, you know, so there is a wrong answer to this. But me personally, like, okay, what am I looking for, right? But then it shouldn't be what I'm looking for. I'm the person interviewing you. It was just weird. And that's why sometimes I put people in those positions to see their true colors, right?
Oh yeah,
And it's not to say like, oh, I'm doing to be spiteful or trying to make you show your colors.
And then it's not even being spiteful. It's like you really need to know like people's true intentions in like a workspace and a work culture.
You know, I don't want to be just somebody you say, oh, we hired her because she's Black and we needed to check the block. Let's just give her, let's push her over there.
And being like the token person.
Yeah.
And I know for me personally, I really, especially in like in a school setting, I remember I felt that I was put in spaces where I was that like that token Black student, and it's not comfortable. And in the very least, you don't really feel like you're really truly being accepted or even like listened to in those kinds of spaces. It's just like you're there to like kind of like fill some kind of void, if that makes sense. So I've had experiences with that, and it's just and I think on top of that, I was like getting good grades anyways, and I was always like a part of those top scoring students. So that was another part of it as well. It's just like instances like that. It made me feel really uncomfortable being in those types of situations. So I think questions like that should definitely be asked in interviews. And you can always tell who's like really genuinely like for it.
So I asked that question and my manager like nailed it. And I was just like, okay, I see, being honest, like, yeah, we should be doing better. We should be hiring more women. We should be doing this. And and how I'm doing it is by looking at a resume and saying, all right, cool, they don't fit, but let me have a conversation. Can I mentor this person? Can I, in the military, I feel like it gets its up and downs, right?
Mm-hmm.
I can say this is that at some point I felt like, all right, cool, you got your undergrad, boom, you're a step up, right? Because a lot of our military officers have their bachelor's degree, right? So cool, I got my bachelor's degree, you're an officer, but I'm an enlisted soldier. Cool. that you have some officers that think they're just so much better than us because they got a degree. Well, I got one too. So what
are you trying to say? What are you trying to get at?
right? So then I said, cool. So what happens if I get a master's degree?
Like, what's gonna happen?
I got two.
Mm-hmm.
Now what? So there was times I had to put people in their place, and I said, hold on, let me check you real quick, because I don't know who
You
I'm
have
talking
to, and it's sad, but you have to do that.
And it's crazy because it was not like, you know, people of color. It was more Caucasian people. I'm like, listen, y'all really got me messed up. And then they'd be like, oh, why don't you come to office? I'm like, why? I love taking care of soldiers. I can take care of soldiers as an enlisted. I like what I do. You know, I know soldiers enlisted soldiers that have PhDs. And I'm like, you ain't getting out? They like, nah, I like what I do. And I'm like, listen, go for it. And I said, but let me tell you, don't let nobody ever disrespect you because they think you less than. Listen, slap them with your degree in their face. And I felt like there was times I had to tell people and show people like, well, I deserve a seat at this table because I'm well educated and knowledgeable, just like you.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and so that was like, you know, sometimes it's hard for other people to swallow it. I'm like, listen, swallow that joint because I'm sitting at this table. And then, or what I get sometimes like, oh, ooh, wow. Like, what you don't think we're supposed to not be educated?
Exactly. So, and like that fake shock. Yeah. I like to say, and you can tell when it comes off as very passive because I've had those experiences too. It's like, oh, really? You did that? I'm like, yes, I have the resume, I have the credentials to prove it.
Yeah. I'm like, you need to put it in wallet size and walk around with it or something. And
like, what do you want me to do?
You know, and I'm just like, y'all tripping, you know, and sometimes that's why I don't mind going into these spaces and, oh, I'm loud. I'm going to be loud. I'm going to show out. I'm going to let people know I'm here. And you're not going to corner me because that's not what I do. I'm going to corner you first. I'm like, now you're wrong. And then I'm going to step up, you know, like, that's why, you know, I observe and then I'll be like, okay.
That's me. I'm more on the chill and quiet side, but I still observe. It's like I like to watch and listen more than I talk because when you watch and then you listen more, then you are able to catch certain things. You're able to catch certain things that you probably would not have catched if you were like constantly like talking back and forth. So I think it's kind of like my thing when it comes to a work environment. But I think most importantly though, even if you're in a workspace, the authenticity is still very prevalent. And I say that because even if we are in a workspace, we are still humans. So I think we still should embrace that in that workspace. So if it does come down to, okay, let me pull you aside so I can check you for this, that, and third, and like being transparent and honest with each other about certain things, that I really think that should be held.
So sometimes I feel like I'm going to check you right there and then, right? And meaning I'm going to walk in the room and I'm like, especially if I'm talking or presenting or whatever it is, and I'm going to say, like, listen, I don't like all that bad energy.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
When I come up in here, we're gonna listen to each other. We're gonna hear each other out. You know, we're gonna have some respect. So I'll let it be known. And it was, and you know what? Good example. We had a day party at work, and we had this presenter, Black lady presenting. Somebody was lifting hot mic, and she was like, "Hey, when a Black queen is talking, y'all shut up." I was like, ooh. So that's right there and then she checked everybody in the room. And I was like, That is so true. Why would you think that, yeah, hot mic by accident, but if this was in person, ooh, I know I would have fell out, and but you see it all the time. I go to place and I'll be like, y'all got no respect, but when somebody else go up there, it's quiet. I'm like, stop tripping, and so I tried to be known up front. Like, I'm not here to play with y'all. Like, I play around, I joke around, but when business is business and we got a task ahead of us and we got to complete something.
Yep. It's time to go to work.
Oh, you don't want to do your job? Oh, that's fine. Cool. Let me send an email real quick. Well, I'm gonna put you on the spot. Like, yo, you did not finish your part, so we all gonna wait on you. And I'm putting you on blast. So, I mean, everything is, I definitely have learned some lessons, and definitely saying like, keep speaking up. That's how I am. I feel like closed mouth don't get fed. And so I do observe, I do watch, I do, but then sometimes I'm like, oh no, this isn't, I'll step up. And I feel like it's a lot of it learning in the military. I've seen so many people get stepped over and walked over and pushed and pulled. And I'm like, not with me. So I feel like, I took some of those traits and skills and moved it over into, a bigger role, because that's what I did. I transitioned out of the military into an awesome role that I knew that I could lead, get work done and have fun. Like I said, I make everything fun. I can't go to work and be like, oh, another day. So, that's me. And that's why I like telling people about, I wouldn't say my journey. It's not my journey. It's my journey right now. It's like, how am I doing my job? Like, how am I making the best of it? And so this journey is like, I'm definitely learning a lot. I'm definitely knowing how to handle situations and how to deal with people. So it's definitely, lessons being learned on this journey. But then, like I said, I'm big on YouTube University. Someone was watching something to say, okay, oh, let me do this. Oh, let me do that. Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah. But I think we are top of the hour.
Yeah.
So, but it's definitely fun. When I come back to North Carolina, we should definitely catch up.
Absolutely. Me, you, and Rael, we should all like link up.
Yo, Rael is crazy. She and her mom's on vacation right now. But yeah, I met up with them, and oh my goodness, when I was trying to catch my flight, it got delayed. So I was like, oh, let me meet up with Rael. So they met me at the airport, and we hung out at the airport. Yeah. And so, yeah. So I don't know if I'm coming next month because, man, flights to Fayetteville is like $700. And I'm like, my unit won't fund it. And I was like, I'm not coming out of my pocket.
I don't blame you.
So if not May, definitely June. I'll be out there.
Yeah, let me know. I would love to link up, hang out.
Yeah. And we probably could do a video in person, and that'd be fun.
Oh yeah, that'd be amazing. Actually, that's a good idea.
Yeah. All right. Enjoy your evening. It's late right there. It's what, 7 o'clock or 6? And lights still out.
Yeah, and it's still a little light outside, but yeah. But thank you so much.
No problem. Well, looking forward to you publishing this. Always.
Yeah, and I will catch you on LinkedIn.
All right. Later.
All right. Bye, Taisha.
Bye.